We're going to make a piece of paper that has 4 equal sized squares or rectangles. These are rulers. You might get a wooden ruler or a plastic ruler. And the ruler has 2 sides, an inchy side and a centimeter side. I like to use the inch side for now because it's what they use for paper in America. And look at how I put the tip of one on the left-hand side where the number 1 is down there. And then I can look across where my thumb is and see that this is 6 inches wide. So that was a 4 by 6 inch wide paper, kind of small. When I need a 9 by 12 paper, I measure like this. I put the left-hand side by the 1 over against that edge, and then over by my wiggling thumb, you can see the number 9. It's 9 inches wide. Notice when I'm measuring, I make sure the ruler is nice and straight near the edge. And here I am measuring something, and it took up the whole ruler. It is 12 inches wide. So this is a 9 by 12 paper. And that's all the information we need. Now I'm going to hold the ruler back on that short side, and I'm going to count halfway, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So the big line between the 4 and the 5 is where I make what's called a tick mark. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. I hold it nice and straight, starting on the left, and I make a mark right at 4 and a half. Now let's do a long side. So remember, the ruler lines up nice and straight on all those sides. And because it's 12 inches long, half of 12 is 6. So I'm going to find the number 6, find the big line next to it, make a tick mark right where the line is. The point of measuring is to be really exact and try your best. Take your time. And I'm holding the ruler nice and straight. Make sure it is lined up. If the ruler is not sitting in the right place, then your little mark won't be in the right place. So half of 12 again was 6. Now, to draw your lines, you need to take your time, put the ruler's edge right against both of those tick marks, and then draw a line that connects them. Taking my time, putting the ruler's edge right against those 2 tick marks. Make sure, take your time, look back and forth at each one, and make sure they are really lined up, and then you have done it. To do that with a 9 by 12 paper, we will start with a ruler, and we're going to bring it to the top edge nice and straight. Take your time to line it up nice and straight with the edge, the end one side, and we'll see that it's 9 inches across. I'm going to count 4 and then go 4 and a half. So that big line in the middle of the 4 and the 5 is right where I'm going to put what's called a tick mark or a hash mark. I flipped it around. I'm going to do that on the other side. I make sure it's nice and straight. Count 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half, because 4 and a half is half of 9. So both ends now have a little tick mark right in the center. I want to do that on the 2 sides now as well. I'm going to line up the ruler nice and straight along the top. It's 12 inches long, we can see. So half of that is 6. I'm going to carefully make a tick mark right where the 6, the big line by the 6 is. And then I have one more side to go, and since it is 12 inches wide, that means right at that same spot where there's a line by the 6 and everything's lined up, I'm going to put a little tick mark. So now I have 4 tick marks to draw my lines. Whenever you're drawing a grid, you need the tick marks on all 4 sides. So the first thing I'm going to do is line up the ruler carefully, the edge, to cross through the 2 tick marks, and then run my pencil along that line. And then I line up the edge of my ruler the other way and slide my pencil lightly down to make a line that goes through those 2 tick marks. This does take practice. So just as a reminder, we're looking at 4 and a half on the short side and 6 on the long side. All right. Have fun drawing your lines.